Episode 1: The Secret World of Toys. In a quiet little town, far from the hustle and bustle of the city, there was a house that looked just like any other. But inside this house was something extraordinary, something that no one outside of it knew about. Every night, when the humans went to sleep, the toys came to life. In the heart of this cozy house, a young boy named Max had a room full of toys. There were action figures, dolls, stuffed animals, toy cars, and even a robot who loved to dance. Max had always loved his toys, playing with them during the day and tucking them into their little spots at night. But Max didn't know something special. When he went to sleep, his toys had their own secret life. The leader of this world of toys was a brave and resourceful cowboy doll named Dusty. He had been Max's favorite toy for as long as he could remember. Dusty was small, but he had a big heart. He wore a cowboy hat, a red scarf around his neck, and had a shining silver star pinned to his chest. Dusty was always ready for an adventure, whether it was saving the day or helping his friends with a problem. One evening, as the sun set and the last of the light disappeared through the curtains, the toys began to stir. Dusty hopped down from his place on the shelf and looked around the room. The moonlight streamed through the window, casting a soft glow on the toys below. "All right, everyone," Dusty called out, his voice as brave as ever. "It's time to begin tonight's adventure." From beneath the bed, a small, shy toy car named Zoom zoomed forward. Zoom had been Max's first car toy and was painted in bright red with a little racing stripe. He always loved to race but felt nervous about being too fast. "Where are we going tonight, Dusty?" Zoom asked excitedly. "To the farthest corner of the room," Dusty said, pointing toward a dark corner where the toys rarely ventured. "There's something strange going on there. I can feel it." "Something strange?" Zoom asked nervously. "Like what?" "Only one way to find out," Dusty said, his voice full of curiosity. The toys gathered around, and one by one, they began their journey. There was Luna, a soft, lavender-colored stuffed bunny, who always liked to hop ahead, and Maxine, a little action figure who was always ready to jump into action. Then there was Spikes, a robot with sharp edges and a heart of gold, who always thought before he acted. They slowly made their way to the farthest corner of the room. The shadows grew deeper as they approached. Dusty stopped for a moment, looking back at his friends. "Are you all ready for this?" he asked, his voice firm but warm. "Ready," everyone said in unison, their excitement rising. As they reached the corner, they saw what was causing the strange feeling. There, lying on the floor, was a toy that no one recognized. It was a plush dinosaur, its green scales slightly faded, and its eyes were wide open, staring blankly ahead. It looked as though it had been forgotten for a very long time. The toys circled the dinosaur cautiously, unsure of what to do. "Is this yours?" Luna asked gently, reaching out to touch the dinosaur's tail. The dinosaur blinked. "Who are you?" a soft, raspy voice asked. The toys jumped back, startled. I'm Dax," the dinosaur said, slowly sitting up. "I was once a very loved toy, but I haven't seen anyone for so long." Dusty stepped forward, his hat tipping slightly as he bowed. "Well, Dax, it's nice to meet you. I'm Dusty, and these are my friends. We take care of all the toys here." Dax's eyes brightened a little. "You mean, there are others like me?" "Yes," Dusty said with a smile. "We're a family, and we stick together." Dax's face lit up. "I've missed being with others. It's been so lonely in this corner." "You're not alone anymore," Dusty assured him. Just then, there was a loud creak from the doorway. The toys froze, their eyes wide. Was someone awake? Spikes, the robot, quickly calculated the best move. "We need to hide." Without thinking, the toys scattered to their usual spots, but Dax was too slow. He tried to crawl under the bed, but his tail got stuck. "Help!" Dax whispered frantically. Quickly, Dusty rushed over. "Don't worry, Dax. We'll get you out of here." Luna hopped over and nudged Dax's tail, and Zoom zoomed in to help. With a little teamwork, Dax was free just in time. The toys held their breath, waiting to see if anyone had noticed. The door creaked open just a little, and from the hallway, a soft voice called out, "Max. Are you still awake?" It was Max's voice. The toys froze. Would Max discover their secret? Max's footsteps grew louder as he approached the door. The toys held their breath, their hearts racing. Dusty quickly motioned for everyone to stay still, hoping that Max wouldn't notice the small movements in the room. Dax, still trembling, hid behind the toy chest, his large green body barely fitting behind a pile of plush pillows. Dusty stepped closer to him, whispering, "Stay calm, Dax. Everything will be fine." Max pushed the door open just a crack. His eyes scanned the room, landing on his toy shelf, where Dusty and his friends were usually displayed. Max squinted, but everything seemed normal. "Must have been my imagination," Max muttered softly, rubbing his eyes as he walked away from the door. The toys let out a collective sigh of relief. Dusty stepped forward with a grin on his face. "Well, that was a close one." Dax, now peeking out from behind the toy chest, looked at Dusty with gratitude. "Thank you for helping me," he said, his voice full of warmth. "No need to thank me," Dusty replied. "That's what friends are for. Now, let's get back to our adventure. We've got more to explore." The toys gathered around Dax, who was slowly adjusting to his new surroundings. They could tell that Dax was nervous, but he was also excited to be part of something again. "Where are we going next?" asked Zoom, eager to continue the adventure. Dusty smiled. "I have a feeling that tonight will bring us something we never expected." With that, the toys set off again, but this time, Dax was walking alongside them. The once lonely dinosaur now had a place in the world of toys, and it was only the beginning of his journey with Dusty and the others. Episode 2: The Quest for the Lost Toy Chest. The next day, after Max had left for school, Dusty gathered the toys together for their next big mission. They all knew something was missing in Toyville. The room was filled with old toys, but there was one piece they couldn't find. A toy chest that had been in the room for as long as anyone could remember had mysteriously disappeared. "No one's seen it for days," Dusty said, standing in front of the gathered toys. "But I know it's here somewhere. And we're going to find it." The room fell silent. Everyone was curious but also a little nervous. The toy chest was no ordinary chest, it was the place where Max kept his most cherished toys, the ones that didn't fit on the shelves. It was the heart of their world. "I think we should start by looking under the bed," suggested Luna, her long ears twitching. "We've already checked under the bed," said Spikes, looking at Luna. "There's no sign of the chest." "But what about the closet?" Maxine asked, always the strategist. Dusty nodded. "The closet, yes. That's our next stop." The toys quickly made their way across the room and into the closet. It was dark and cramped, filled with boxes, old clothes, and a forgotten jumble of things. As they entered, they noticed something unusual. The door to the closet was ajar, just wide enough for someone or something to slip through. But Max had never left it like that. "This is strange," Dusty murmured. "Someone or something has been here." "I don't like it," Zoom said, his wheels squeaking nervously. "Stay alert, everyone," Dusty commanded. "Let's find that chest." The toys moved carefully through the closet, squeezing between piles of old toys and clothes. Suddenly, they heard a faint sound coming from behind a stack of boxes. It was a scraping noise, almost like something or someone was moving. Dusty quickly gestured for everyone to stay still. They tiptoed toward the sound, peering through a gap between two large cardboard boxes. There, in the dim light, they saw something that made their eyes widen in shock. The toy chest was right there, but it wasn't just any chest. The once sturdy, worn wooden chest now had a glowing symbol on its front, a symbol none of them had ever seen before. It pulsed with an eerie blue light. "That's not good," Spikes muttered, his sensors whirring as he analyzed the symbol. Dusty stepped forward cautiously, trying to get a closer look. As he neared the chest, the symbol on it began to glow brighter. And then, something unexpected happened. The chest suddenly opened by itself, and out of it came a whirlwind of light. The toys jumped back, startled, as a magical, swirling force swept through the room, making everything around them shake. Whoa! Luna squealed, barely able to keep her balance as the lights spun around them. In the middle of the glowing storm, Dusty saw something he hadn't expected, a new toy, one unlike any they had ever seen before. It was a small, shining figure made of metal, with sharp edges and a glowing core. It floated in the air, its glowing eyes scanning the room. "Who are you?" Dusty called out, standing tall despite the storm of lights. The metallic figure paused, its eyes locking onto Dusty's. "I am Spectre," it said, its voice robotic yet calm. "I am from a place beyond this world. I've come for the toys who are destined for a greater purpose." The toys were stunned into silence. Dusty stepped forward, his heart racing. "What do you mean? What greater purpose?" Spectre's eyes flickered. "The world of toys is in danger. And only you, Dusty, and your friends can stop it. You must come with me." Without another word, the glowing figure began to move toward the closet door, and the toys were faced with a decision. Should they follow this mysterious new toy? Was this a chance for something bigger than anything they had ever experienced? Episode 3, A New Beginning, will continue the adventure as the toys decide whether to follow Spectre's invitation. Dusty and the crew must prepare for a journey beyond Toyville, discovering new allies, new challenges, and the true power that lies in the world of toys. Episode 3, A New Beginning. The toys were still reeling from the sudden appearance of Spectre, the mysterious metallic figure. They stood in stunned silence, their eyes fixed on the glowing entity that hovered in the air, its metallic body shimmering with an otherworldly light. The closet was filled with the sound of soft whirring as Spectre's glowing eyes flickered. Are you real?" Maxine asked, her voice filled with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Her hands rested on her hips, always the strategist, always thinking. Spectre's glowing core flickered as it looked down at the group of toys. "I am real," it said, its voice soft but filled with a strange energy. "And I have come because the world you live in is in danger. The very fabric of Toyville is weakening." The room seemed to fall silent at that. Dusty stepped forward, squaring his shoulders with determination. "What do you mean by that?" he asked, his voice firm, despite the uncertainty swirling around him. "We've been here for years. Toyville is safe." Spectre floated closer, its eyes never leaving Dusty. "Toyville is a haven for all toys. But a dark force is threatening to unravel everything. The joy, the magic, the life that brings toys to life, it's fading. And if it isn't stopped, all toys will be lost, forgotten, and lifeless." The toys exchanged worried glances. They had always thought that the magic of Toyville was unbreakable. It was the place they all called home, the place where they could play, grow, and be cherished forever. But the idea that something could destroy that magic, something beyond their control, was terrifying. "We have to do something," Dusty said, stepping forward with a determined look in his eyes. "But how can we stop it?" Spectre's glowing core pulsed softly. "The only way to save Toyville is to find the source. The source of all Toyville's magic. It has been hidden for centuries, deep within the heart of the forgotten toys. You must journey there and unlock its power." "The forgotten toys?" Luna asked, her voice barely a whisper. She had heard of them, but no one ever really spoke about them. They were the toys that had been left behind, forgotten by their owners, cast aside into dark corners and closets. "That's right," Spectre said, floating higher into the air, its voice steady. "The forgotten toys hold the key to Toyville's survival. But they are not easily found. You will face many trials, challenges, and dangers along the way. Are you ready to begin this journey?" The toys stood still for a moment, considering Spectre's words. The thought of venturing into the unknown, of seeking out the forgotten toys, filled them with both excitement and fear. But one thing was certain, they couldn't let Toyville fade away. They had to act. "I'll go," Dusty said finally, looking back at his friends. "I'll lead the way." "I'm with you, Dusty," said Maxine, always ready for action. "I can't let you go alone," said Spikes, his robotic voice firm. "Me too," Luna said, bouncing up and down in excitement. Let's go on an adventure. The toys rallied around Dusty, their fear replaced by a sense of unity and purpose. They had always been a family, and now more than ever, they needed to stick together. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them as one. All right, then, Dusty said, his voice resolute. Let's go save Toyville. Episode 4, The Journey Begins. With their minds made up, the toys gathered their courage and prepared to leave the safety of Toyville. They knew that once they crossed the threshold of the closet, they would be stepping into a new world, one full of unknowns and danger. But they also knew they couldn't turn back. Toyville depended on them. As they followed Spectre out of the closet, the lights dimmed, and the toys found themselves standing at the edge of Toyville's borders, the point where the room gave way to the rest of the house. The hall stretched before them, dark and mysterious. Where do we go now? Asked Zoom, his wheels rolling nervously as he looked ahead. We follow the path, Spectre said, its voice calm and guiding. The path will take you to the forgotten toys. But be warned, the journey will not be easy. You will encounter obstacles, both physical and mental. The path will test your strength, your courage, and your friendships. Stay true to each other, and you will succeed. The toys nodded, their resolve hardening. Dusty led the way, his small frame cutting through the shadows ahead. Luna hopped along beside him, her bunny ears bouncing as she looked around in awe. Spikes walked steadily, his sharp edges gleaming in the low light, while Maxine kept her eyes on the surroundings, ever vigilant. Zoom was at the back, his wheels spinning quickly as he kept up with the group, though his nerves were still frayed. The further they walked down the hall, the darker it seemed to get. The walls of the house loomed like giants, casting long, dark shadows. It was a place they had never ventured before. The hall was silent except for the sound of their footsteps and wheels echoing off the walls. Finally, after what felt like hours, they came to a door that looked unlike any they had ever seen before. It was an old wooden door, weathered by time, and there was something strange about it. A faint blue glow emanated from the cracks around the edges. This is it, Spectre said, floating forward. The door to the forgotten toys. Dusty stepped forward, his heart racing. Are we ready? He asked, looking back at his friends. We're ready, said Maxine, her voice strong. We're together, said Luna, smiling with determination. We'll face whatever comes, said Spikes, his voice unwavering. Dusty nodded. Then let's go. With a creak, Dusty pushed open the door. As the door swung wide, a gust of cold air swept through, and the toys found themselves standing in a vast, dark space. The forgotten toys lay beyond the door, an eerie and mysterious world full of abandoned toys and forgotten memories. The toys took a deep breath. They were about to enter a world they had only heard stories about, a world where the lost toys lived, waiting for someone to remember them. And so, the adventure truly began. Episode 5, The Forgotten City. The air in the Forgotten City was thick with dust and silence. As the toys stepped through the door, they were greeted by an overwhelming sense of emptiness. The walls around them were lined with old shelves, filled with broken toys, stuffed animals with missing eyes, and action figures with faded paint. It was a place where time had stood still, where toys had been left behind and forgotten. Dusty's heart sank as he took in the sight. This was the world of the forgotten toys, the place where all the toys that had once been loved now waited in limbo. Is this what happens to us? Dusty whispered to himself. But Spectre, floating beside him, spoke in a calm, reassuring voice. No, Dusty. This is not your fate. The source holds the key to saving Toyville, but it is hidden deep within this place. You must find it before it's too late. The toys moved forward, their footsteps echoing through the empty hall. As they walked deeper into the forgotten city, they encountered more abandoned toys, dolls with torn clothes, a teddy bear missing its arm, a train set with rusted wheels. Each toy had a story, a past, but now they were nothing more than relics of forgotten joy. There's something strange about this place, Maxine said, her voice tense as she looked around. It feels sad. Luna nodded. It's like the toys here have lost their spirit. Spectre turned its glowing eyes toward the group. The forgotten toys are waiting for something. They long for the day when they will be remembered and brought back to life. But that day will only come if you find the source. The toys pressed on, their resolve hardening with each step. They knew they had to find the source, not just for Toyville, but for the forgotten toys, too. The more they explored, the more they realized that the magic that had once filled this place had faded. It was as if the joy had been drained from the very air. Finally, at the heart of the city, they found what they had been looking for. It was a large, ancient chest, unlike anything they had seen before. Its surface was covered in intricate carvings, and the faint blue glow that had first led them to this place now emanated from within the chest itself. "This is it," Dusty said, stepping forward. "This is the source." Spectre floated beside him. "Yes, Dusty. Open it, and the magic of Toyville will be restored. But be warned, there is a price to pay. The magic can only be revived if the toys here are remembered and loved again. Their journey is not over, but it will take a leap of faith." With a steady hand, Dusty reached forward and opened the chest. The moment the chest creaked open, a brilliant light filled the room, brighter than anything they had ever seen. The toys shielded their eyes as the light enveloped them, but then, something extraordinary happened. The forgotten toys around them began to stir. Slowly, they lifted themselves from the shelves, their broken bodies mending as the light filled them with new life. The teddy bear found its missing arm, the doll's clothes were restored, and the train set began to roll again. The magic of Toyville was returning, and with it, the joy and love that had been lost. Dusty, Maxine, Luna, Spikes, and Zoom watched in awe as the forgotten toys came to life. The sadness that had filled the air was now replaced with laughter, excitement, and energy. The forgotten city was no longer a place of loneliness, it was a place of rebirth. "Look at them," Luna said, her voice filled with wonder. "They're alive again." Spectre smiled. "Yes. They have been remembered. And now, Toyville will be safe. The magic is restored." Dusty turned to Spectre, a smile on his face. "We did it." Spectre nodded. "You did, Dusty. You and your friends. You brought hope and joy back to Toyville." With the source now fully restored, the toys knew their journey was complete. The forgotten toys would find new homes, and Toyville would continue to thrive. The magic of the toys, the love, the joy, the laughter, had been saved. As they made their way back to Toyville, Dusty looked at his friends and realized that this adventure had brought them closer than ever before. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and fear together, but they had come through it all stronger. And the most important lesson they had learned was that the true magic of Toyville wasn't in the source, it was in the friendship and love that the toys shared. Epilogue, a new beginning. Back in the room, everything seemed just as it had before, but there was a new sense of peace in the air. The toys knew that they were never alone. As long as they had each other, the magic of Toyville would never fade. Dusty, standing proudly at the front of the shelf, looked out over his friends. He knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. "Toyville is safe," Dusty said, smiling at his friends. "And we're home," Maxine added with a grin. Luna hopped up and down. "Home sweet home." "Let's keep the adventure going," said Zoom, ready for whatever new excitement awaited. Spikes crossed his arms, a hint of a smile on his robotic face. "Together, we can face anything." As the toys settled into their spots, ready for the next day's adventures, they knew one thing for sure: in the world of toys, as long as they had love, joy, and each other, they would always be alive. And so, the magic of Toyville lived on. The end.